Unbelievable.
Welcome back to MVP Podcast, episode 25. I'm getting laughed at because I just tried to make a mockery intro. We've got Bobbi back. She is going to run through kind of an updated reading of my house. Went through the basement and then through the second story, which were like the two problem areas from the first episode she was on. So if you haven't listened to that one, stop this. Go listen to the first one so you can follow along with the progress of it. But everything you're hearing, I'm hearing for the first time on the show. It's all good news.
Yay!
So let's bring Bobbi in.
I haven't heard anything either. And I literally just drove here from the house.
And I was zoning out because I was writing notes for the show. So
You didn't miss anything. This is a flip house. Is this how we're referring to Blaine?
I mean, it's a flipped house.
I'm just wondering.
When I rip it all apart and rebuild it all, it'd be technically a flip.
Well, no, I'm getting at you're not telling people you live there?
Oh, I live there. I said that. I said my house. But we flipped the house.
Okay.
his flip.
My flip.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm referring to it correctly. And I'm still going to edit some things for privacy, but I'm still going to give it all to you.
All right.
Did we talk about the original findings at Blaine?
We had a show about what you found at Blaine. Because remember, you had to climb in. I made you climb into the house, all that stuff.
I remember that.
The one thing we have not told them is how, as we're building, the things that have happened.
Mm.
So I guess I can go over those things. But the main reason why this all got sparked, were Bobbi, you should come back and clear it. You were going to do it when it was all done,
Mm-hmm.
but we're still odds and ends finishing. So we're actually in the basement, which had already had a lot of...
Okay, so you edited a little bit. I just have to put in some of the comicalness of, that's not a word, of this whole happening.
Anything's a word.
Thank you for having my back on that.
Yep.
So he calls me as I'm driving home from looking at a venue for one of my retreats. I'm like, oh, this is good because Marcus never calls me. And I had my assistant in the car with me, and I said, don't say anything inappropriate because you're on speaker. And then he's like, you're on speaker with...
Justin.
And...
Ari.
Okay. I didn't know if we were saying names or not.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. He's never actually inappropriate. But I had been trying to get back into the house for a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and you kept putting it off.
It was so chaotic. And I was like, I don't know if it's...
I just want to be clear that I continuously said I needed to get back in there, and then didn't, and now we have lights flickering.
Mm-hmm.
Have you learned your lesson?
Mm-hmm.
Actually learned your lesson?
Mm-hmm.
Marcus is kind of nodding, not really.
Mm-hmm.
So my main concerns for the house, based on the original reading, were the basement, because that's where the symbols were. Did we talk about the symbols?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you did actually sand off the sanding them in to the wall?
Yes.
Okay. And the main area where the bathroom was upstairs in that whole area to the sides.
Yeah, it's like a landing hallway area.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so those were the two hot spots in the original reading. So I said, I'll go up there and check that out. But you have the addition now to the back. So I'm always a little discombobulated in there because it's two separate chunks of energy now. But so went to the basement first because obviously that's what he cares about. And actually really cool. Do you know what angel numbers are?
Not a clue.
Okay, so there's this whole thought process around repeating numbers. So like 111, 222, 333 are what are called angel numbers that offer some level of energy depending on what the number is. And he put in, was that framing that was on?
Yeah, just the stud walls, 2x4s.
That must, I don't know why it had 111 on it, because I could see the company name or whoever, and then 111 on it right near where the corner is. And I'm like, that's not a coincidence. That the angel numbers ended up on the 2x4 next to the corner. You're not into it, but I think that's really cool.
I mean, I'm not into it.
You're not very excited about it.
Well, you
Versus
also
me,
told
I'm
me
like
that. So this
geeking
is
out
not
about
me
it.
just hearing about that. She told me that at the house.
I'm taking notes on it.
Fantastic. And like when you get angel numbers, so for me, I started paying attention a little bit more when I realized I saw angel numbers on license plates every day. So I'm like, how often do you see a license plate that is 222 or 333 or 444? And now I see it every time I drive. Like I saw one on the way over. So that's when I started paying attention. But every angel number has a different meaning to it. And 111 is some level of clearing and protection. So I thought that was pretty cool that that just happened to be a thing that happened in the basement.
What's 555?
Major changes coming your way.
Okay, now, because I know I have to ask this question, 666 cannot be an angel number.
It is.
Well, I guess that is he was technically an angel, but a fallen angel.
Okay, it doesn't follow Catholicism though. 666 talks about money worries and how you're manifesting toxic money stories into your life. But you really are afraid of the number 666?
No, I figured viewers would want to know because like the other, I
I'm
mean,
afraid of the number 666.
Hmm.
I can't do it.
It still makes me a little nervous, but that's because I grew up in a Lutheran family. But no, it's talking about toxic money situations in your life.
but yeah, I did draw 111 on the walls as I was leaving the basement.
And by draw 111, he means he just
I had some
draw
extra paint on my
3
paintbrush.
lines. Okay, so
Something.
anyway, that all happened in the basement. So where do I start? I wanted to figure out if all of the basement still had energy to it, if it was person dependent, so if a specific kind of person or a specific individual needed to be down there. Justin is his name. Like if this was something that was going to be associated with Justin or whatever. So almost like I wanted to figure out the parameters of what was happening down there first. And the good news is that there was a point where I was backing out from that corner where all the symbols were, that I didn't feel any sort of anything. So that tells me there's, for all intents and purposes, a line where it extends to. It can permeate that line, but like just existing there, it's a box essentially.
Okay.
It extends a little bit into where you have your furnace and the Wi-Fi box. I assumed it was a Wi-Fi box. And I'm glad you have that in the basement. I always recommend to people that any sort of electronics like that go as far away from living spaces as possible because they give off some serious juju. And actually, science is starting to prove that, and they're creating boxes to prevent the waves from going out from boxes like that. So they're hella expensive, so I think they're not all that affordable right now, but it's cool that science is proving it. So I gave you kudos for that. I don't often give you kudos, but kudos for that.
I got one. I'm one for like 107.
Take your little wins.
I'm going to ride this win into the weekend.
So knowing that I had the box then, that tells me more so that it's not really going to attach to one individual. Do you know what Justin was working on throughout that day?
I think he was just drywalling. I think that whole day he was just drywalling the basement.
That whole area?
Yeah.
And so at that point, had the area where the symbols were, had they been covered yet?
Yeah.
Okay, so he was working off
I would
of that?
guess. Or he was working on that wall.
I'd be really curious.
I'd have to confirm like where he was actually at.
Can
But
you ask him?
No, actually, he was just drywalling. He was drywalling the wall that was like attached to the steps, like on the opposite face, and then mudding. So that was already covered.
Okay, when was it covered?
Like a week before.
Okay. So I don't think it's specific person dependent, but I do think it influences people that work down there. I had a really hard time staying down there. So immediately that's my red flag. I got tightness in my chest. I was dizzy. My stomach started to get a little upset. That's all cues for me that the energy down there is not okay. We don't want to assign good or bad. We just know there's something off with it. That dissipated the further away I moved from the corner. So I know we talked a little bit about your plans for that area. I'm still all for keeping all activity out of that corner. Because even just sitting there, I was just standing there. I don't really move around when I read because I have to reorient myself every time I move. So I would essentially be doing the same thing that people down there would be doing, just sitting there. And I felt sick. And I'm sensitive, but others are going to feel that with prolonged exposure to it too. The reason I brought up the Wi-Fi box and the electrical box is because that can sometimes have EMF come off of it, but I don't think that was it because I felt better when I moved closer to the boxes. Does that make sense? Okay. So then the question is, what's actually going on here? You know, is the entity that I felt during the first reading still there? Is there still, did we talk about the portal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is the portal still open? What's the situation? So it was kind of challenging because the kids were home. You guys were home.
It was chaos.
And I don't mind noise because I can block that out as much as I need to. But this is the part I don't know if you want me to talk about. I'm trying to think of a way to say this with protecting your privacy. Emotions going on in the house that are really potent. And two things are happening as a result of that. One, this energy that is still in the basement is feeding into it, making it worse. And the reverse is also true. That intensity is also feeding into it.
Okay.
So I noticed immediately when someone came downstairs, so I don't name names, and the intensity of the energy went up. So that tells me not so much that person, but the kind of energy that person has really feeds this energy downstairs. So then that begs the question, what is this energy? Because the portal was closed. I confirmed that. I felt no portal, and that makes me really happy. That's
good.
what I was concerned about
Yeah.
when you guys called me. Because if that reopened, there's not much we can do. It's probably going to be there forever. The issue is that it's like that energy is sitting there just constantly knocking on the door. And it is permeating into the house a little bit, but it's not like a free-for-all. So there's no entity there, but it's like, I'm trying to think of a good equivalent for you. The entity itself is putting energy into the space because it's trying to get back in.
Gotcha.
I don't think it will succeed, with the exception of whatever is going on in the household with that heavy emotion. You could inadvertently invite that back in.
Okay.
So am I editing enough for you?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have questions so far?
Gouda.
Now I want Gouda cheese.
I know, we have some in the fridge.
Oh, anyway, food.
Barbecue chicken pizza tonight.
Okay, focusing. I love food. They're just good food. It makes me happy.
That's why I had to make pizza dough, and we were sitting here and I was running behind. I mean,
It's a good excuse to run behind. So then my question is, in that space, what do we do about this? Now, the tough answer is unless you have a dramatic improvement in the energy you're putting into the space, it's going to remain that way. Because it's there's a scientific name for this that I can't think of right now. But it's a two-way street right now. Not only is it making things worse when there are negative emotions happening. So I got a visual of a disagreement happening and it feeling really intense. Like I felt like I had, like all of the anger was going into my head where I was so mad. And I felt like I wasn't being understood and that I kept saying words, was like I was coming up against a wall, and like I could feel some level of wanting to move forward, but there was such an intense frustration and like, why isn't anything changing? Or why isn't this working? Or like that, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And I could feel this energy almost be happy about it. And when I feel that kind of exchange, that's what I mean. It's feeding on it, but also making it worse.
Okay.
Because it's encouraging it. So this is not a situation for someone to live in this house, or it's going to be difficult for someone to live in this house who is negative because of that give and take from what is downstairs.
Yeah.
It's also not going to be a great place for people who don't communicate well. Because again, that creates arguments and heavy feelings. And again, it's going to feed into that and feed from it. Now, the kids, and don't respond to this because I want to protect privacy.
I'll look the other way.
What?
I'll look the other way.
You don't have to. I'm just like, don't comment on this.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
They're kiddos. So I'm going to say just a blanket statement here. This kind of energy would also create behavioral issues. And I don't mean like you have to go put them in treatment, but things like they're not listening to authority figures, there's tantrums, there's an unwillingness to do things. Like obviously that's kiddos in general, but it's made 20 times worse because of this energy that's in the house. Now, normally with a family, I'd say clear the energy so that you're living in a space that at least has a fresh start every now and again. But because of what's downstairs, it's going to be really hard to clear it effectively. Does it mean you can't live there? No. But I would say, and you'll appreciate this, we're both self-work people. This is a perfect house to, like, if you want to know what your triggers are and what your issues are, live in this house.
Perfect.
Because they're going to be right in front of your face. And if you're living with someone, you're going to do it to each other. And the only way that it will get better is if there is a intentional and consistent effort to shift mindset, because that's going to impact your energy. The kids, though, other than the behavioral issues, I'm not worried about. There seemed to be no intention from at least when I was downstairs, and then confirmed when I didn't feel any sort of way about their bedrooms. It doesn't seem to really care about the kids. The behavioral issues are just because the energy's in the house and they're absorbing it. So it's not anything direct towards the kids, which kids are a non-negotiable for me. If kids are in danger, like I'm not going to mess around with that.
Yeah.
Now in we don't say master anymore. Main bedroom. Is that now the appropriate?
Whatever we want to call it these days.
I can be vague here. And you know what, I'll be vague just for sake of being protective of privacy. The individuals in the master bedroom are the cause of a lot of the energy being put into the house.
And for the listeners, that's me.
Do you see why I asked him like 3 times? Are you sure you want me to talk about this?
Hey, man.
I mean,
I'm not surprised by that though. I mean, the parents or the adults are the leaders of every household.
You'd be surprised. That's not always the case.
I tried to be. with my
Yeah, they try.
friends around me.
But
It's like 18 going on 8, 9. Run too fast.
I can't. Yeah, I love kids. It's from a personal level. I could not do the level of chaos, because like that's the organization in me. Energetics, like I don't mind. Kids bring such amazing energy into a house, but me personally,
If you just have one, it's not awful, because I just continuously, I'm like, pick up your toys, throw them in your toy box, pick up your toys, throw them in your toy box, that doesn't belong there, pick it up, go put the dishes away. Oh, look, you can figure out how to do your laundry. Yeah.
She walked in today with 6 kids running around.
so from an energetic perspective, I love that, because that's nothing but awesome juju. The human in me is like, oh my God, there's so much going on. Breathe.
Yeah.
But the 2 different things. So kids, I'm not worried about. Had I been worried about the kids, this would have been a very different conversation. But you 2, since you admitted it was you, I have worries about mental health, in that, you know, when you guys have your moments, whether individually or with each other, it's going to be made worse in that house. And that feeling of butting heads without movement one way or the other, because everyone argues, like,
Yeah.
come on, that's a thing. But it's that hitting a wall with each other.
Yeah.
That is what worries me with the energy in that house, because it's not going to help that along. That doesn't mean it can't be fixed or shifted. It just means it's the self-work house. That's what I'm going to call Blaine now, the self-work house, because that's what it's going to do. So in the bedroom itself, I got a headache being in there. Like, I still have a headache from being in the main bedroom, because it just sucks in there. No offense.
That's okay.
Which says a lot, because you've got live greenery in there, which I think is probably, it'd be worse if that wasn't. And also windows, but you had them covered. You should not be doing that ever in any parts of the house. They should always be open when at all possible. Like, obviously, I wouldn't be walking around naked with the windows open.
Right.
Although, sidebar.
On one of our windows, we don't even have a blind. So the neighbors just.
Sidebar.
Yes.
Real quick. Shalom House in West Bend is where we had our level 3 retreat. they don't have any window coverings on any windows.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, you guys, whoever's out there is going to see me shower. All right. But they were in the middle of the woods. So, like, no one was around, but, like, the deer could watch, I guess. It was so strange.
That's odd.
Really?
Right now, we just got 4 of our windows
Mhm.
replaced yesterday, and granted, they take off the window coverings, but like my son's window coverings, they were awful. They were like the old like pull down like cellulose ones,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, these things have been falling apart since we moved in.
Mm-hmm.
Like we should probably just take them down.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't replaced them yet. So like this morning, my husband woke up in that bedroom and he was like, it was pretty bright. I was like, sorry, my bad.
I love a dark bedroom to sleep in,
Mhm.
but the first thing I do in the morning is opening our blinds because, like, I want that sunlight in there.
I like these blinds because they're kind of see-through.
Mhm.
They like filter the light.
Yeah.
But it's still like light-ish.
And I mean, at the farm, we don't really have neighbors, so maybe I won't put window coverings on.
There you go.
Save some money.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Yeah, oh my God. And there's like everywhere is windows, as it should be in this house. So I was kind of dreading that. I'm like, well, maybe we just won't. No one's going to see.
Yeah.
And if they do, it's their own fault. Where did I leave off now? Oh, yes, the main bedroom. So I would never keep windows or anything over the windows unless, like, close them for specific circumstances, but otherwise keep them open.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we usually have them open. The one, because we've got one bigger one that looks out
Yeah.
the backyard.
Yep.
And that's on the, what do you call them? I don't know, they're on the rod, and you can. So we've got the big window.
mhm.
We never close those.
Mm.
I mean, every once in a while we do, but like the sun doesn't peek in that way. That's like the afternoon sunset.
Mhm.
And the 2 other ones, one window doesn't have blinds, and the other one's always up
Mm.
because it's in the corner of the room.
So why was it closed today?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I
Okay,
have no
well, I'm
idea.
glad they're open. That today was not an indication that you guys usually keep them covered. But again, so this is why people have to be careful with, well, I'm just going to clear my space and everything's going to be okay.
Mhm.
And it totally doesn't do any sort of regard for what energy is being put into the space. So we have a generator essentially of, let me PG this in my head, terrible mindsets
Okay.
and arguments and, a lack of compromise and challenge, a generator for that in the basement. There's not an entity there. I want you to be careful with that. Like, there's not something walking around. It's knocking on the door, but it's not there. But it is creating energy down there that then is going to impact the rest of the house and everyone in it.
Mhm.
So you can clear, but unless you're clearing twice a day, it's not going to do much because then you guys are also putting energy into the house.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
We need to go on a vacation for like 3 months and just vacate the house.
Are you going to do self-work?
No.
Right. So then you'll just walk right back into...
Oh, I thought you said, are we actually going to do that? And I
Oh.
said, no, we're not going on vacation for 3 months. Are we doing
But even if
self-care?
you did, not self-care, self-work. Because, like, if you go on vacation and work your stuff out,
Yeah.
then come back with, different mindsets and different ways
Yeah.
of approaching things, then I'm all for it. But if you're going to go on vacation and shove all of your issues into your big toe, then come back into self-work house,
It's Nick Miller box.
sorry, into your Nick Miller box, then you're just going to be right where you started.
Right. Right.
So that's the house you're living in.
Well, that was super cool.
That was something.
That was something. Are the crystals you wanted to do, is that
They're
happening
not
or
gonna do
not
much
even? Okay.
for it. Right now, the biggest thing that's going to make the biggest impact for you is the people in the house doing work to change the energy they're putting into the house.
So we change our mindset. We tell this, not an entity,
Just
this
the energy.
thing
This thing.
To-
So you know
to
how,
leave.
like, if you put a glass over a candle, it will go out because
Mhm.
it doesn't. It's that kind of concept. There's nothing right. There's nothing you can do with the energy downstairs other than stop feeding it. And to stop feeding it, you need to work on the negative things that are happening and being said in the house.
All right.
But that
So
requires.
You need to be really, really nice to one another.
We're just going to be
Oh,
overly happy.
But
You
then you're
spilled?
shoving
That's
things-
super cool.
If you're suffocating it, then it can be suffocated, and then you can go back to like yelling at each
Okay,
other.
but you guys,
Well, the dishes aren't done. Oh, that's so great.
the level of resentment that would be built up if you did that.
No big deal. We'll just break. We'll just break them. Get paper plates.
I will forever need you
Oh,
to refer
that's
to your
true.
house as a Self-Park house now.
I don't know if that trumps the bat house or the bat
Oh.
cave, because that's what it was called.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about. We can call it the Bat Cave. That's fine. Because bats, as an animal totem, talk about shadow work, so I'm good with that.
All right. So it can stay the bat cave?
Mhm.
Cool.
Oh my goodness.
And what is this about shadow work? What? Go into this bat thing? Because this could be telling.
All right, I just need to kick my feet up and like kick back and relax.
This is a show of learning what Bobbi has about my house.
Over on this podcast. Just, I'll let you know when it
Were you not interested about the bats?
sure.
So, have we talked about animal totems?
No.
Okay. So, the idea of animal totems.
Now you're interested.
She's always interested. That each animal has a particular, if you ask a Native American healer, medicine that they will show themselves to you, congregate in an area, appear in your dreams. Maybe you see them frequently. Like, we're not going to walk up to a tiger in Wisconsin, so maybe you see tiger imagery a bunch, but they'll make themselves apparent to you when you need to work with their medicine.
What's the dolphin?
I'd have to look it up. I think it has to do with play.
Okay.
I don't remember.
My mom could always call the dolphins, no matter where she was, which ocean, whenever.
That's a different scenario, though. That I don't want to lose listeners to that whole theory,
Oh boy. All right, continue back on yours. Sorry.
but I will talk about it if you want me to.
Off-tracked you.
So we're all born. Yes.
A dolphin totem represents a person who is really at ease in their environment and their own skin.
So
That's just like the one sentence. It goes on and on and on.
that is someone who has dolphin as a birth totem. So we're all born with, according to Native American teaching, you're born with an animal totem in each of your personal directions. So north, south, east, west, above, below, and center.
Oh boy.
So, and they inform who you most are when you're aligned. So that's where I was going with that, is that she's probably a dolphin person. And like, I have my birth totems tattooed on my back because I resonate with them so much.
What are they?
Let me finish bats, or else we're going to go on a whole other tangent here.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
So, and then we have power animal totems. Those are the ones that show up in your life that I was talking about. You see them a lot, or they do something that's totally uncharacteristic of their natural behaviors to make themselves apparent to you. Those are power animals. You can use oracle cards. So like for a lot of my clients, I do a yearly animal totem reading. So for 1 month, you're assigned a totem that you're going to be working with, or it can be more tangible, like, oh, I keep seeing foxes. Like Travis had a fox following him around when he was walking the dogs, which is really uncharacteristic for a fox because foxes hate dogs. It's that kind of thing. Or we had in our Franklin house, like, I don't know, 6 owls surrounding us one night, and like, oh, we've got some owl medicine going on. So for bats, now the history behind the bats are for
They were in the house when I bought it, and we were finding just nests, or are they roosts?
I don't know. I know animal totems. I don't know animal
I don't know. But like we're pulling out
dwellings.
we're pulling out insulation in the ceiling, and it's just coming down with just 10, 12, like just different pockets of bats. So we found, I think, 60 in the house.
I didn't realize there was that many.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Do you still have the video of you squealing when one flew at you?
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Terrified. I don't like bats. It's gross.
That was one of the first videos you showed
Flying
me
rats.
when I met you, and it really informed my early opinions of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll demo anything, and I'll
But
shoot
not bats.
animals out, but I'm not messing with bats. There's no way.
That's funny. We used to have bats diving into our pool when I was growing up, so I'm not scared.
Diving into your pool?
Yeah, to get a drink of water.
I feel like they shouldn't drink pool
Oh,
water.
needed water. I agree, but they would, and they would dive in every night after sunset. It was really cool. I loved watching them.
I
didn't
love
like-
bats.
I didn't like being in the pool when they would dive down, but it was.
I think bats are adorable.
That's gross. You can have them, but like it's not uncommon for where my house is to have bats.
No. So in this case, though, you bought a house that had bats that you weren't aware that had bats.
Correct.
And then not only did it have bats, it had 60 bats. So
I'm just glad that I decided to rip everything out,
Yeah.
because those bats would have still been there.
That's crazy. That's just crazy. So that's a perfect example of an animal made itself apparent to you
Mm-hmm.
and also dive bombed your head.
Yep.
So the perfect example of that would have been a situation to say, okay, bat medicine is trying to work with me. Let me go look it up. Because, like, I don't have every animal memorized. I have to go Google medicine, too.
Why don't you have everything
You
memorized?
found that out earlier.
Ouch! Burn! So,
We still love you, though, Bobbi.
thank you. Thank you. By a fun coincidence, bat is my current totem. No, we're in April now. That was my March totem. I don't know what my April totem is. I'll have to look it up. But so bats tell you that there is a change coming in your life, and it likely comes with its own set of challenges, but that it's meant to happen for you. And it also is meant to guide you and inform your shadow work. So the parts of yourself that you don't like, and the parts of your life that you have shame and fear around. And so I think it's quite fitting that they congregated in the self-work house, aka the Bat Cave.
Yeah.
And you could look back on that part of your life and say, okay, what was challenging about it, and was that a precursor to things that came down the road that were going to be big changes that were hard? But I can see now that they were for my benefit. And well, you're currently working through shadow stuff because you work in the Bat Cave self-work house.
Right.
Yeah.
It's true.
So when I got that as my totem last month, I'm like, I don't want to do shadow work this month. But I sure had to. Mm-hmm.
And it went well?
That's up for interpretation.
All right.
You guys, I'm in this line of work, but like I'm still human. I don't want to go through the stuff that I have shame about or fear about, but I've done it enough times to know it's freaking phenomenal when you're done.
Yeah.
It's great. So you've learned about your house.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned about animal totems.
Did you get anything upstairs in that hallway area landing? Sorry, we never really touched on that.
Not the landing, no.
Okay.
That all felt fine. I didn't feel anything with the stairs.
Anything attic? Because attic is brand new.
Yeah,
There's like nothing up there.
I loved it up there. Like, I want that attic. Actually, no, I want the farmhouse. You can keep your attic.
Thanks. Rub that in with 20-something acres.
Well, more like 50 plus acres because it's conservancy, attaching a conservancy already to it. I'm just going to be living in a heaven. This is why you can't disown me.
I don't know. We'll see.
Whatever.
We'll see.
Rude.
Laundry room in the basement. New area in the basement.
Yeah,
Nothing?
nothing.
Just that corner and then main bedroom.
Yes. Also,
Okay.
this remind
Now,
me to
do
tell
we
you-
work on stuff in front of or in that little area in the basement so it knows that we're doing our shadow work?
I was
and
wondering
then-
where you were going with that. No, it doesn't matter where you are.
But is it better if we're there?
No.
I was going to
I
say, I'm going to
honestly-
scream into the
No.
area.
If it were my house, I'd be like, no one is allowed to be in that area of the basement because I felt ill. And the last thing I'm sensitive to it, so I know what's happening. The
Yeah.
last thing I'd want is someone to be in that area of the basement, not know what's going on, and then all of a sudden feel sick.
Yeah.
Like that goes on the short list of, people need to not do that
Okay.
because it can affect you physically, and that's always a red flag for me.
Okay.
But
And no sage.
no.
Why did you get such a look of disgust when he did that?
Not
I've already
discussed.
asked her like 3 times if I should just burn sage all over.
And I get this question so much. It's, Bobbi, can I just sage my house and make it better? Sage is great if you're just dealing with maintenance or maybe some light entity work. So when I say light entity work, I mean things that aren't inherently heavy or inherently dark. Like sage is great, but when you're dealing with something to this caliber and with this intensity, it just pisses it off. So it can make things worse. Or like if you have a house that has a lot of entities, same concept. You're just going to start pissing stuff off because you're messing with the energy. So no, there's really nothing we can do. I mean, you could entertain the idea of having a traditional healer. So whether it be a Peruvian shaman or a Native American healer come in. But honestly, I don't think that would do much because it's got to come from you guys.
All right. I'm going to tell this thing to go shove it. I'm just getting a death stare from Bobbi. You know that's a joke.
Do we
Right.
Yes.
You know what?
I'm
I
not
say
going
remove
to.
symbols from a wall and you stand them into the wall. I don't ever.
I didn't stand them into the wall.
You
It was
did.
dark. I couldn't see. I was standing all over the area. I thought I got it all. I didn't.
I don't know if I believe that.
I don't. Mm-mm.
Whatever.
So would you say things like, I'm going to go tell it to shove it? I have to ask if you're actually going to do it.
I'm not going to go tell it to shove it.
Because then I'm not fixing that. Because then I'm not going in that house.
No, I'm not.
I don't
gonna
need
go
to
do
deal
that.
with that juju.
not
That
gonna
would
do
be,
that.
oh, God. I can only imagine what would happen. Mm-mm.
And I thought it was so curious that after Justin's whole experience down there, there's been nothing else. Because that's like where I've been working.
Mm-hmm.
We've been painting the ceiling. We've been finishing up mudding. I was down there painting the laundry room, put the epoxy on the floor. It's like I've been down there constantly and nothing's popped up. So then I was like, I don't know if it followed Justin home or what else going.
I was thinking I'd really like to meet him to know what energy did he create where it got a little bit of a boost, where it could impact its environment in that way.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. But also, I would really like Ari to never go in the basement.
Ooh. That means I'm doing laundry all the time?
Deal with it. We fought for our rights.
Yeah, the rights to do half of the laundry.
Didn't we just talk about this earlier?
Back in the day.
Back in the day with the garbage cans. Take it to the trash.
The garbage cans.
So I am going to respectfully allow you 50% of everything, which is 50% of garbage and laundry. That seems only fair.
I will compromise with,
We can edit this part out.
or don't. I feel like people really need this clear view of who you are as a
Or
person.
you could just see the dagger
So now they're
from
listening to
my
this
eye
show.
into his face.
They're like this.
To his face.
So they're listening to the show. My basement has a area that is a no-go zone. It's created by me.
No.
And I'm also saying,
It was not created by you.
or not created by me. I guess we're feeding into it.
Yes.
And
it
then
is
I'm
feeding you
talking
guys.
completely sarcastic about equal rights in terms of garbage and laundry. So viewers who are just tuning in for the first show, they're like, the host is kind of an asshole.
And then you have this weird woo-woo person on here.
Are you the woo-woo person?
Is that even a question?
You're not a woo-woo person.
That's really?
Well, I'm not the woo-woo person, so...
I don't think you're a woo-woo person.
I am very woo-woo. Although
Well, we need a definition of woo-woo because maybe I'm not
Let's
thinking about it
look up
correctly.
woo-woo.
We'll put it in the show notes.
woo-woo. Although
Are you spelling it W-U?
No,
or
W-O-O.
Okay.
Unconventional beliefs regarding as having little or no scientific basis, especially those relating to spirituality, mysticism, or alternative medicine.
So we're naming this episode Bobby's Back in Town, the woo-woo person.
You can. Although I don't like this little to no scientific basis because I like woo-woo that is evidence-backed. And I can't take credit for that phrase.
So you're not a woo-woo person.
I like woo-woo with evidence.
You're kind of a woo-woo person.
Whatever you want to call me.
That's it.
I got my title. Okay.
So I'm gonna tell you something when we're done because this does not need to be said on this. But the more she can limit her time down there, the better.
Okay.
But specifically for something that I want
So,
you to go back and tell her about.
Get a laundry chute, at least. Then you can just
I wanted to do
shove it all into the open washer.
a laundry chute.
Are you okay over there with
I don't
whatever's
know.
happening?
I have no idea.
Maybe spirit crept into my house,
No.
choking him.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I have my own theories based on his juju today, but I won't put that out there.
I don't know what my juju is. What was I gonna say? Oh,
don't
the
know.
outside. Like, I know you didn't walk around.
Yeah.
But
What
that
did
was
you
all
do
good?
to your finger?
Tore a ligament. It's been great. 1 week of 4 in this thing. It's been
That's
fantastic.
why we don't tear ligaments.
I know.
I wish someone would have taught you that before you did it.
This is not the first finger
Okay.
that I've.
Then really, you're just repeating the same
This is the
mistake.
second time I've done it to this pinky, actually. Other ones were sports related. This was just shingle related.
Okay.
Whoops.
Your question about the outside.
Yep.
Is what?
Was that fine, or like did you get any energy as you were coming up to it,
I
or
didn't
is it
read
all
outside.
okay? Just trying to get all the information.
I'm trying to think of a way to say this that isn't terrible. I think the neighbors are interesting.
Which one? Because we've got a problem neighbor.
What's the matter?
Everything's the matter in her world. Everything.
And it is a female.
Yep.
Yeah, that's.
Oh yeah.
I
She'll
can't.
call the cops if you open your door too loud.
I can't tell you which house, but I can tell you that there's like a big old. This is when I wish I could like download the imagery. So I'm very visual based when I do readings. So it's not so much that I hear words or, sometimes I feel things like in my chest or whatever, but I'm mostly visual based. And there was like this big black tentacle looking thing extending from your house out. So I know that like the base of it was not in your house. So I knew it wasn't coming from your house.
Okay.
I knew it was coming from a neighbor. And I've seen that before with neighbors who are either like just totally unreasonable or there was a tiff, whatever.
Yeah.
But I did not stop to look where it was coming from
Okay.
because I was running late and I felt bad for running late.
Oh no, it's fine. I know where it's coming from.
But that's some shit.
Yeah. And we've talked to all the neighbors about this one problem neighbor.
Oh no.
Yeah. She's got the police on speed dial for everything that's going on.
Well, and she has it out for you guys too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I've seen this kind of energy before.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, this isn't a crabby neighbor that likes to complain. Like, she acts on her
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. Absolutely.
And, acts on is different for everybody. I guess it's the police for her, but
Yeah. It's gotten to the point where like I'm sitting there doing yard work and a cop will come up into the backyard. I'm like, what has she got for me today? And they're like, well, we don't know that it's her. And I'm like, come on.
mm-hmm.
No one else calls the cops but this one person.
Mm-hmm.
What has she got? We got a report of boys throwing garbage in the river. You mean the stones that are on the riverbed? Well, I don't know. The person couldn't tell what they were throwing. Okay. So it's like little things like that she just has to.
I used to have a neighbor like that. You know what her name was? Well, what they called her? Happy.
There you go. Call her Happy.
We've got a few names.
None of which are happy.
No. I mean, you get the generic Karen because that's what you call everybody who's annoying or eccentric these days. One neighbor calls her. Oh, what's the evil witch? What was her name?
The Wicked Witch of the West?
No, it was.
The
I'll have to
Evil
think about
Witch.
it.
I don't know why my brain goes to that, but
I would have went to the Wicked Witch of the West.
Something with
Thank
like a
you. Thank
K
you.
or a S.
What is he even saying?
I know Glenda, the Good Witch,
Right.
but I don't.
No, it's not that. Definitely not that.
I think you're crazy.
Let me look it up.
I'll think of it.
So,
But it was
moral
funny.
of this story is with your house.
Mm-hmm. Self-care, which is important to
Not
everybody.
I don't care if you self-care. You should self-care, but it's irrelevant to what you
Everybody
can do for
should
this
self.
house.
Don't tell people not to self-care.
I said for the purposes of the energy in the house. Like, I am big fan of self-care. But for the house, it has to be the mindset shift and getting really good at knowing what energy you're putting into the house.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, like, this isn't something you can ignore and it will just go away.
Right.
So take that for what you would like. Kids are good. The behavioral stuff, if there is any, I don't know if there is any or not with the kiddos, but are likely going to be extra challenging in that house. But that would get better if the other things got better. I'm trying not to pick on you guys too much.
I'm already feeling it. I'm going to go into this weekend. I rode my one win for about 10 minutes. got another loss.
Whoops.
Any
It happens.
questions?
No. I'm interested to see when, like, the chaos is done. Because a lot of the stressors that me and Ari are dealing with is because the house is just, like, I've got workers there one day, then I've got one person there, then I've got 6 people there. And it's, like, constant, like, trying to plan days and schedules around people coming. So when that's done and all the areas are done and we're not tracking, like, you go in the basement, you come up and there's dust, and you go in the attic and there's dust, and, like, it's just constant back and forth about moving junk to one room so that we can finish another room, and it's just chaotic.
Whatever it takes.
So I'm sure that our headspace and energy with the chaos and that room being chaos is, like, a big thing for it. But obviously we're feeding into that, like you said. I'm curious to see what happens.
Keep me posted. Unless you tell it to shove it, then I'm never coming back.
I'll tell it to shove it. I'm going to go home and tell it to shove it right away.
When am I reading your house?
Next time, please.
Next show is about Natasha's. You can take the L on a Friday afternoon and
Can what?
take the loss.
Oh, okay.
She's going to tear your house apart, and then you got to go tell the...
Can you please read my house next time? I'd be so excited.
Yes, I could read your house next time.
I could do my spirit fingers.
I'd be happy to do that.
We could even zoom it next time.
Yes, so the studio is changing for your next show, which is the one that's going to be relevant for you. But yeah, it's going in the attic.
Good. I like it up there. Now you really can't tell it to shove it? Because otherwise I'm going to have to call in. Because I'm not going back in that house if you tell it to shove it.
I will not tell it to shove
Thank you.
it, promise.
Okay. I'm just going to stand behind Bobbi so she can protect me.
I get that a lot, though. Like, I'm just going to stand by Bobbi in case anything bad is happening here.
That'd be fun. So next episode with Bobbi will be, we're going to think of a name for your house.
Okay.
Oh.
The house unnamed at this point.
Yeah, well, it was the house my mom wanted me to have. And
That's too long of a title.
Well, I liked it because, so I had previously gotten divorced from my ex-husband, and I was looking to find this house. And I said there has to be a sign for me to find this house. And so, I mean, when I asked my son where he wanted to live, he said, well, Mom, I want to live by the coffee shops, which is basically where
I
we live.
love your son.
He's so cute, right? We live by all of the coffee shops.
Mhm.
We live by the beach. We live by, like, every single park that you can live by. And we live by where every single parade is walked by. So we really have, like, the stellar location. But I had looked at a house right around the corner on, let's say, 3rd Street. And I was like, and I put an offer in, and they were like, yeah, no, somebody else has an offer ahead of you. And so my offer fell through, but they're like, we'll still keep your offer in case that the other one falls through. And we're like, okay. Well, fast forward, and I found out that my offer never got presented to them because I knew the person who sold the house. And they were like, oh, we never even received your offer when our other offer fell through. And I was like, oh, really?
What?
But that was good.
Yeah.
Because we got this house, and I liked this house because the address was, let's say, 123. My ex-husband's address was 321.
Yeah.
So it was easy for my son
Yeah.
to remember our new address because
Yep.
it was just opposite of what our old address was. So that's how I knew that this house was supposed to be my house.
Fun fact about numbers, you can also look up your address numbers and it will have a meaning.
Ooh.
Address numbers for meetings. Show notes.
Similar to how your birthday has meaning, the numbers of your birthday, you can do the same thing with your address.
I love that.
See, all these fun little nuggets you get when I come around.
Oh my gosh, for sure. And my son fell in love with this house, and I mean, we have literally touched every single room in this house, so it's very special to me.
And it's just the numbers, or
Yeah.
it's okay.
I know. I like want to look it up now too. Let's see if we can get like a.
I have a little bit of a sense of what I'm going to find in your house, but I don't want to say it until I've read it.
Okay.
But I really want to read your house.
That's doable. We can definitely arrange for that. House number meaning. Let's see if we can find your house number numerology. What your address means.
You guys, just for the record, they're both on their phones right now, and I'm just sitting here.
You can't
twiddling
tell
my
me something
fingers.
super cool and
I
not tell me to
know.
research it.
I know.
I guess we should wrap up the show and then
Yeah,
we'll
probably should.
everybody do it with us. The show's ending. Go on your phone, look up your address, If you want to post it onto, not your whole address, I do not want to know that. That would be weird. Just the number and like kind of what it meant.
Mm-hmm.
I'll post mine. Natasha will post hers.
Yeah.
We'll go from there.
There's so many numbers here. I'm really confused already. So.
But if anybody listening to the show enjoyed Bobbi's reading.
Did you almost forget my name?
No, I wanted to say how I was going to say it because it wasn't a fun one for me. But if anybody's interested in what Bobbi has, it's not all going to be ripping on me the whole time.
Or you.
I'm just trying to make you feel bad. No, it's always interesting to hear like what Bobbi has to say and what can change and how to change it and all that stuff. So we've got homework this weekend plus months and months.
Yeah, you have more than
more
just
to do.
weekend
So
work.
I think it's entertaining. Natasha's next show, you're going to hear what Bobbi has to say about your house.
The next show that she's on, yeah.
Are you excited?
I'm so excited. Like, I could jump up and down and, like, woo!
So we will leave Bobbi's information in the show notes. If you're interested in having her come read your house, I know that she really enjoys it.
Mm-hmm. I love reading houses.
So contact her, let her know.
I was taking notes. I'm supposed to delete the coughs. So,
Oh, that's true. Yeah, give her a call, shoot her a message or an email.
That was very eloquent. Thank you.
She will enjoy reading the house, and I think it's fun.
and you'll get a little bit of information.
Exactly.
Or a lot of it.
Oh,
Or a lot of it.
Because we have to remember, like, this was just the one snippet
Mm-hmm.
versus the first time I read your house and we shut the coffee shop down. When I told
Basically.
you, right.
Yeah.
So this is just the follow-up.
Right.
oh boy.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you. Enjoy your weekend. Happy Easter.